Senator John Thune is the Senate GOP whip from South Dakota. He is a friend of the program. I've known him for years. And welcome, Senator. I'm going to brag on you a bit, but I want to say welcome first. It's always good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's always good to be with you. Thank you.
I want to brag on you a bit because I asked your team, I said, tell me where he's been. Don't tell me what he wants to talk about. Tell me where he's been. He has been in Nevada, Montana, Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota, which is good because Eric Hovde gets help when you go to Minnesota, PA with Dave McCormick, Utah, Nevada, Kramer in South Dakota. Senator Kramer's going to win, but you were there for him. You and Vance have been in Nebraska for Ricketts, and he's going to win. Eric Hovde got you back. You've done events for Rogers and Domenici and Hogan. You're exhausted, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, look, Hugh, this is a make or break moment. This is our time to just leave it all on the field, and so everybody's doing everything they can to help the team and try and make as many of these races around the country get across the finish line as possible. So yeah, we're all at it.
Well, $26 million helped raise in this cycle at these events. Thank you. I'm a Republican. People know that. Let's go through the map. We're going to win, we being Republicans. And I'm an open partisan. I don't hide it. West Virginia, Jim Justice is going to be Senator Justice. I think she's going to win, too. So I want to focus on the four closest, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and Hogan. And then we'll get to Eric Hovde, who's closing in Wisconsin, Brown in Nevada, Kerry Lake in Arizona is closing, Nella Domenici is a surprise, and maybe Hankow has a shot. So let's start not with West Virginia and Montana, but Dave McCormick and Bernie Marino, because I got stations all over Pennsylvania and Ohio. How are they doing, Senator?
Yes, you do. Well, they're doing great and they're working hard. I mean, if there is any premium for just flat out working your opponents, those two candidates are doing it. And I spent 2 days on the bus with Dave McCormick in Pennsylvania. He and his wife Dina are hitting the state hard, have a great message, and same thing in Ohio. I mean, Bernie Marino is out there every single day from dawn to dusk, just pounding away. And I think now, Hugh, that their television campaign's amping up, and the weight of the television, they've been getting hammered on TV for, since the beginning of the summer because these Democrats have had such a financial advantage. But that's now starting to close, and these races are going to tighten. And I feel really good about where we're at. We have great candidates, a really good map, and some really weak incumbents. And I think
I don't want to critique anyone's team, but the very best team is the McCormick team. Their ads are amazing. They just need money to put them up.
They do, and it takes a lot of money in Pennsylvania, which is why if anybody's out there and wants to make a difference in this election, getting money to some of these key races is huge. And you're right. He's got great creative content. They are now starting to really draw contrast, and that race is tightening. And you can see the Casey message changing in response to that, which is a good indication that they're hitting home in the McCormick campaign.
Now, I had Mike Rogers on yesterday. Michigan can be won by President Trump, and I think Mike Rogers can win with a good lead. I mean, I think he can win by 2 or 3 points. How do you feel about Michigan and Mike Rogers? Because he's a serious man for a serious time.
Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, former intelligence officer, military guy, really experienced at a time when we need that on the world stage, somebody with his background experience. And just a high quality human being. And I think again, he and his wife Christy, and I've been with them in Michigan, and we're heading back there. Is running a great campaign, Hugh. And I agree with you. I think the dynamics in Michigan right now, you've got the what's happening with Israel and Hamas, which is a huge population in Michigan. I think it's going to be really hard for Harris and Democrats to win them back. You got the union vote because of the EV mandate. You got a big shift in some of these, populated centers, urban centers, where African-American men are starting to break for Republicans. I think there's a lot of really good dynamics at work there, and Mike's working it hard. I mean, I agree with you. I think it's one of those races that it's going to tighten, and Trump performs well there. I think we have a really good chance of winning Michigan.
Now, one of my favorite people, Larry Hogan, despite the fact he's a Ravens fan, I think he's going to win, which is going to be amazing because Maryland is a deep blue state, but Larry is a very beloved governor. What do you think? You've done an event for him.
I've done 3 events with him now, and we've got another one coming up And I think in my view at least, he's got to run a long ways ahead of the top of the ticket, but he's the guy that can do it, and he's got an proven record as a governor. And I think what people are looking for now in Washington is competence, and I think Larry Hogan as a governor screams competence. He got things done. He did hard stuff. He cut spending, cut taxes in a Democrat state. And I think when people, Democrats and independents in Maryland, think of Larry Hogan, they think of a guy who gets things done. And I think that's what, I think it's going to really, really help him. I think he's going to run a long ways ahead of the top of the ticket.
I'm going to come back with Senator Thune after this break and go through the other races because I am pretty confident about Eric Hovde and Kerry Lake, but I don't know about Sam Brown. Can he do it? Can Nella Domenici upset the world, and can Hung Kao pull a 1980 and come out of nowhere and beat an incumbent with all sorts of funding? Okay, Senator, Eric Hovde, Sam Brown, Kerry Lake, Nella Domenici, Hung Kao. How do you rate these? How do you feel about them?
Well, again, I think they're all candidates that can get across the finish line that fit their states really well. And, where I'm in Wisconsin today, this morning, doing some stuff with Eric Hovde. We did a fundraiser for him last night in Madison. And as you know, Wisconsin, it's Madison, Milwaukee, and then the rest of the state. And if he can overperform in these two counties, in Madison and in Milwaukee, I think the rest of Wisconsin brings him home. And again, you've got a really high-quality candidate, fourth-generation Wisconsinite, a successful entrepreneur, businessman, philanthropist, running against somebody who just doesn't have a record of having really accomplished anything in the Senate. And I think it's a great contrast. He's an incredibly energetic candidate on the trail. Again, working really, really hard, taking his message to the people of Wisconsin. I think that's going to be appreciated down the stretch. So I'm really hopeful about this one. I think too this one is tightened, and I think it's going to tighten more. And then I think you get Nevada in Arizona and New Mexico, some great opportunities out there. Strong candidates running great races.
Yeah, that's the border states. All right, and some of them aren't on the border like Nevada, but Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico migration. President Trump hit it hard, but that was the most biased debate I've ever seen. And I mean, on an order of magnitude, like the Richter scale. I want to get your thoughts on that debate before I let you go, Senator.
Well, it was loaded deck. It was 3-on-1, and that was what he was up against. And of course, I think everybody kind of knew that going in. But I think the points that he had to make, and again, the Harris record has got to be exposed. She can try and run from her positions, but she can't run from her record. And, if you look at this campaign and what it's about elections are about differences. The contrast couldn't be more great on all the major issues. They've had a wide open southern border. They got over 20% inflation. People vote their pocketbooks. They vote kitchen table issues. They want their family to be safer and more secure. And we've got an open border which has criminals and terrorists and all other types of bad elements coming across, making this country less safe and the economy less stable. And so I just think we've got the arguments on our side. I think President Trump closed it out well the other night. He's got to make her own that record. She's trying to run away from it. She's trying to shift her positions, which is what the Democrats do. But at the end of the day, it's the American people are going to make a decision based upon whether or not they think they're in a better place today than they were 4 years ago, and they're going to reflect favorably on the time when Trump was in office, and I think that's going to make the difference.
Very last question, my edification. You're too young to remember the 1972 gold medal game between the Soviets and the Americans, how the referees, the desk, the scorers, the officials, the IOC, they all ganged up to make sure the U.S. didn't win that game. 3 times they had to play the end until the Soviets won. Did you see that? Did you ever hear about that? Because that's what that debate reminded me of.
Well, and yeah, I remember that. You're right. I'm a little younger than you, not a lot younger than you, but a big hoops fan, and yeah, clearly that was what our team was up against at the time, and that's kind of what our team is up against this time. I mean, you're never going to get a fair shake, and so you just have to factor that in and then go out and win by big enough margins that it doesn't matter.